Session 4. Session 4, we're here, man, knocking on the door. Session 4. Wow, back again.
To drop some science.
Oh, man. Yeah, as Tom Cruise would have it, man. Scientology, but nah. No. We don't subscribe, but
yeah, come on.
Yeah. But yeah, man, we're here again.
Yes,
here
sir.
again. Another day, you know, back in the game, man. How we doing? What's happening?
How am I doing? Yeah, I think that this is a transitional moment for me. You know, as we share in our private moments together, you know, we're both going through, changes in our career, changes, family dynamics.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's about knowing or trying to know that this is what you have been, or speaking from the I, what I have been prepared for, and not being resistant to it, welcoming that change, and welcoming the challenge, the knowing that the impending challenges are on the horizon, and I'm up for it, and I want it, and even at this stage of my life, because I think I'm entering what Erik Erikson would say is the generativity versus stagnation. Yes, generativity versus stagnation. So I'm moving because I can't be stagnant.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the word not being resistant. Is there some resistance?
Well, I think within as a human being, you're comfortable. I was 14 years, a month away from 14 years in the previous place of work.
So serious.
I was happy.
Yeah.
I was content there, wholeheartedly, and I shared with colleagues that this is the best it has been since I've been there.
Wow.
So, being
that sweet spot.
Yeah, this one spot. I mean, because you talk about some challenges.
Yeah.
You talk, I'm thinking I would go so far as to say some dark periods that transpired during those 14 years. For me to be where I am presently and to take the risk of leaving that to go on to something, or to go into a institution that is unfamiliar, that is really I'm looking at it as though this ceiling, I have gone through the ceiling now. Yeah, I've broken through. So but here's the thing: if you don't risk, you risk nothing.
Yeah, and we encourage, or we work with clients around the risk, right?
Yeah.
And breaking through that ceiling, and as you said, it's been the best that it's been. So it's that sweet spot. Like I could stay. Like there's everything, set up for me. To be and stay.
Yeah. And loved.
And loved. So right?
Yeah, loved. Let me. I'm sorry. I have to bring this in.
No, apologize. Let's go.
This week we had a lunch.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a. But the lunch was for me. The lunch was for me. Some managers won't be around next week.
So they were celebrating you.
They were celebrating me. I came and I sat in the chair. One of the people said, "Carl, no, bruh, what you doing? Come sit at the head, man.
Come on.
Come sit at the head of the table." And they really celebrated me. And then one of my colleagues after the lunch, it's like, Carl, you're loved, man, because we know that there are people in this team that if we had said that they said they're leaving, listen, you wouldn't have seen certain people. Yeah. Everybody came out for you, man.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
Come on.
So much love I have. I have within that team. Yeah. Much love for them, and they have love for me. And some of the messages and some of the oratory that was given, after that lunch. man, heart is full, man.
So your plate was full?
Yeah, plate was full.
And
Come
the
on.
heart is full.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Food was hanging over the plate.
Man.
Yeah.
What are you leaving with? You know, I know the end is not like that. End day is not happening, but with the end in you know, or what are you? I don't know if you can preempt.
I'm leaving with a greater knowledge of self, a greater knowledge of self, a greater knowledge of the you know what I'm leaving behind, because I've been able to, you know, it's that thing. I think you shared it. I'm leaving it in a better place than when it was, than what it was.
Come on.
And some of the relationships that I forged, some of the, you know, the knowledge and wisdom that has been imparted to me, I've been able to do the same. I can't tell you how many colleagues, supervisees that I've encouraged to, because I've seen something in them. You know, I've seen that ability in them to help to facilitate change in others and encourage them to start that counseling journey. So I have, you know, people who I've worked with who've become qualified as a result of what I've modeled, what I've role modeled, and they've gone on that journey. Some are some are finished, some are about to start. You know what I mean? So huge, I'll say legacy.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Huge legacy.
It's big. It's big. You know, we spoke about people that leave a mark and people that leave a stain. The stainers. You know?
I told you, listeners, I told you science today, dropping science.
People that leave stains.
Yes,
man. That, you know, whenever they've, you know, when they've gone, just a stain of them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a small sector, right?
Yeah.
So you go around the lap and, you know, when your name comes up, what is attached to your name?
Yeah.
Is there a stain, or did you leave a positive mark? You know, and as you speak about legacy and, you know, seeing people and encouraging them to embark on their counselling journey, that coincides with you then being a gatekeeper, meeting them at the other end. But then it brought me back to session 1, when you spoke about being in the kitchen, the pots and the pans, and, you know, reasoning with the guys, and you know, so no, that's powerful. When you know, sometimes as helpers, you know, with our wounds, we can, I can, you know, and I know that sometimes we can find it hard to allow ourselves to be celebrated.
Yes,
you know, sometimes when the camera's on and the people, the attention. You know, I've seen many helpers, and sometimes even myself, like kind of, you know, kind of not want the light. I remember when I turned 40. I remember we had a conversation, right? And it was during lockdown, so I wasn't going to do anything.
Yeah.
And one of my friends said to me, he said, "Why are you robbing us? Why are you robbing us of the experience to be able to celebrate with you? You not doing nothing. We want to celebrate. We want to honour you, you know, because we know that you know people that never made it to 40 in your head.
Wow.
You know, so don't rob us. We want to celebrate you." And that was a paradigm shift. You know? So I was like, maybe I'll do something when I come out of lockdown. I think for me in the here and now, temperature check, transition again. I think, you know, I feel like, you know, we spoke about birth, transition being a running theme. My son, he's about to start reception in September. You know, so he just did his little nursery graduation.
All right.
Looking suave.
Come on.
Looking suave, and he's got his little graduation outfit. And
oh man.
So yeah, just getting ready for that transition. School uniform, and you know, him meeting you know, new children and being in a new setting. So we're preparing for that. And just had a wonderful moment the other day. I came home from work, and so I was back out in the community, and I got home a little bit later than I anticipated. But, you know, my son, his name's Azriel. Azriel was still up, and he came running out of the room. "Dad, where you been?" He jumped up. Just when I say the hug that he gave me, like squeezed, like, Dad, man, where you been? You've got, you at work for long. I missed you. It was just, it was such a connection, such a moment.
I love that,
and it was that was the highlight of the week. And then we, we've been meaning to buy him a new bike, and just, him choosing, we chose his bike, and it's just amazing to be able to do that, so love my son. So he just had 2 lovely moments this week, man. It just reminds me of being I'm a dad, I'm a father, and the amazing feelings that brings up. But getting ready for him to go to reception, that stage and transition. So I guess the topic, man, the theme, identity, man. What is it? Identity, what forms it, and I know there's been lots of work and theory and study on this concept, on who am I, what forms our identity. And I know we're very transparent, like this is about us as well. We're about this process. This is not just us, talking and spewing out theory. And I think, it would be good to start from the I, the I and I. And I think, I don't mind sharing, so growing up in a single parent home, not having a male, pup's dad not being around, there was that there wasn't that picture, that image, that template of what a man should be, what a man is, right? And I think my identity, quickly, and this is not a blame game. This is not like dad not being there, but my identity quickly was formed by what was happening outside of the home and looking at other guys, so whether it's the guy he's got the girls, so wow, cool. So this is cool. I see the attention he gets. This is how maybe I've got to be, or this is the guy who gets into the fights. Everyone knows him for being a fighter, and this is the guy that's got the clothes. This guy is the athletic one, or whatever it is. So almost like that amalgamation, that collage of trying to grab bits and pieces and trying to form this person whilst going through puberty and adolescence. So you've got all these kind of growing pains happening. You've got what you've been taught at home, what I've been taught at home. I guess right from wrong, faith, being the only boy in a home, and then you've got all these questions, and you've got culture happening. So you've got reggae, dance or ragga music. That was our sex education. Taking place, and then you've got what's happening in the community and what's happening in the world, and this is forming, little Claude. If I could use, if I refer to myself as little Claude, I haven't grown much since then, but maybe, we'll leave that. But so these elements simultaneously happening at one time are forming my identity, forming who I say I am, who I believe to be.
Yes.
Some of it false, some of it not accurate, so a false sense of self.
So
we talk about self-concept, how we see ourselves, the ideal self. So I think there was a stage definitely in my life where it was almost like, let me try and grab, because I don't know who I am, let me make the person that I think I want to be, and sometimes at the detriment to myself. So in a nutshell, my identities, who do you say you are? And I think a lot of times I've seen, if I exclude myself from the process, people's identity comes from maybe their household, the culture, the community, what they believe in. You know, a man might say, you ask him, you know, what's your name? He said, yeah, I'm Jason and I'm A. And whatever his profession is, his identity might be based on that, you know, without even really knowing who he is.
Right.
So yeah, kind of like danced around, and you know, but I think
some powerful themes there.
I think as a teenager going through this metamorphosis, my identity was being formed with everything that was going on around me, and that was shaping the way I viewed the world, viewed myself, and viewed how you mentioned the pattern of relationships, viewed how I dealt with the opposite sex, you know, just some musings,
significant musings, I say. And I think when I think of identity, you know, quite similar themes come to my mind. Is, you know, there was a period of time, single, you know, family home, the split, as it were. It happens, and you know, my sister went one way, I went another way, and a lot of external factors transpired to determine who I thought I was and who I was to become. Because, you know, as you mentioned, that right from wrong, those things are instilled, but it's very much about, you know, we talked earlier about rebellion, and, you know, rebelling against certain things, because, you know, it's the unmet need. You know, it's the unmet need. And is that, you know, and as we say, we're not here placing any blame, but that unmet need is perhaps associated with, you know, the split, you know, not having, you know, that a pause. Say, you know, we can talk about the male being around, the dad figure, the father figure being around, but we're very much on the tip of a positive role model being there to, you know, like you're doing today for Azrael, you know, some of the, you know, conversations that you have, and just that image that you paint of, you know, opening the door and dude bounding down and giving you that hug, and how that stayed with you days later, and how you've internalized that. So hold on, if we were to look at it through his eyes, what is he internalized today? So those things will stay with him. So if I look at it from my frame and I think, well, if that wasn't around for me, I didn't have that opportunity to run and leap in to my father's arms. You know, you feel that.
Wow, I feel that.
Yeah, you know, to leap into his arms and to, you know, give him that hug and to say it, you know, I love you, Dad, and for him to say, I love you, son. It's, you know, unmet. And so as a result of that, I think that there is a natural inclination for the girl child, the man child to rebel. And then you are influenced. A lot of times you're influenced by the things in the family home, all, you know, 100%, but also those external factors. If you are going to a school, it's a, you know, and you see, and you know, in my day, teenagers, you had what we call the jocks over there in that corner. Okay. You had the want to get the name right. You know, we say the cats with the long hair. You know, the cats with the long hair in the cut, smoking cigarettes or smoking other things. You know what I mean? You know, behind the bleachers, as it were. You know, and you had your jocks, you had the kids with the long hair, your grunge type of thing. You know, it's just different types. And it's who you gravitated towards. You know, that that will go a long way in determining who you thought you were. Yes. So, and mine was, again, being transparent. It was, the ones with the thuggish type behavior. I want to associate with those because I guess then it was the status because of, feared that, they have respect. And perhaps maybe as a being in that family home, not feeling that I mattered or I was respected. Yeah, because, children seen, not heard. Yeah. Know your place. You better hold your corner. You know what I'm saying? It's it wasn't an environment that, you shouldn't lay hands on them. Oh yeah, hands were laid. You know what I mean? You know how it goes. Yeah. So I think, from the early experience, when you come to the 4, 5, 6 years of age to awareness of things, the change within the home happening, and then the fallout from that. And then as you mentioned about the hormones raging, you enter into, 12, 13 teenage years, still searching for, who I am, wanting to belong.
Yes.
A very real sense. I remember that vividly, wanting to belong. And as a result of that wanting to belong, those drivers, as I mentioned in previous sessions, when we think about, I want to belong. So in order to belong, I have to please others. Yeah. So I'm going to, and then you mentioned false self. So we know the false self is there to give us, to protect us, to keep us safe.
Yes.
But then you're hiding your true self, and you don't really, but see, and that's the identity aspect of it. You don't really know who you are because you're not really allowing yourself to be true to yourself. You're trying to be something that you're not. Yeah, and that's where I found myself trying to be something that I wasn't. I wasn't some tough guy. I like to think that I could throw my hands back in the day, but that's not who I was.
Yeah, at the core.
Yeah, at the core.
Yeah.
So I wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
But I wanted you to believe that I was that guy. And I guess for our listeners, the reason why we like to be transparent is because we think that, I know that what we're saying is not going to be too dissimilar to those listening to us. And this is what, when we talk about the therapy and the relationship being the therapy, is that these are some of the themes that will be unspoken.
Yeah.
Unspoken. So when we get to who we truly are, that self, that ideal self, that self-image, that self-esteem that has perhaps, been skewered some way, shape, or form. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's unpack it. What does it mean to you today?
Yeah.
Are you still hiding behind those? Are you still utilizing the false self in order to navigate through this here life?
Yeah. I've seen. I think we spoke about it. That was it. We spoke about tools, right?
Yeah.
So the tools from the toolbox that we may have used previously, and I guess coping mechanisms. You used the word protection, protect.
Yeah.
To protect, to and sometimes to protect is to push away.
Yeah.
So the tools that I use, we can outgrow them, but sometimes point as I'm trying to make is like we are no longer the individuals that we once were. Right? I'd like to believe that. So there came a point when, at our core, we had to accept that the false self doesn't help. The false self is exactly what it is, a false self.
Yeah.
Who am I at the core?
Yeah.
And at the core, that helps to form my identity, or plays parts of my, or feeds into my identity. For you, if you don't mind me asking, what was the point or points where it was like, this is, I'm not that person. What was that like having? Because I guess it's ownership, right, and acceptance. And we know in our work, acceptance is a powerful thing. If we can accept, then the work can begin.
Yeah.
So the work beginning outside of the therapy room or in the therapy room. Yeah. What was that like?
I think for me, it was very much going through the process of training. Of training, I think I mentioned in session one, as a chef, I was able to hide, I was able to hide behind that form of identity, of being a chef. So the epitome of a chef is that angry dude. I bought into that. But that was only hiding the earlier pain that had gone before. So, something happens in the kitchen, then I was able to, the response oftentimes was over the top. Because it wasn't really about it wasn't about the thing. It wasn't about the dish being not to the standard. It was something deeper going on. So it was me going through, having the opportunity to go through the training myself and have therapy myself, that I was able to really pinpoint certain things that happened in my early experience. So we talk about the triangle of insight, which is a powerful tool that we utilize, that we look at back then. We look at what's going on out there now, presently, and then we look at in here. So in the therapy room. And oftentimes, what's happened back then is playing out in here. And it's still going on out there. Yeah. So, that triangle of insight and, utilizing that and having a therapist that was very skilled at, really challenging me. And being, and they being curious as to, what's happening for you right now. What's your, that response that you had? I sense anger. I hear this. What are you feeling right now? What's going on for you? That when therapy, my therapy that I underwent with a long time, and a long way in putting some of those ghosts to bed, if you will, and coming to, as you rightly point out, coming to accept me for who I am. I am nowhere near the finished article, and it's okay. It's Eric Berne talks about, his seminal text is, I'm okay, you're okay, that thing. But oftentimes we can, and this is for the therapist as well as the layperson. I'm okay. You're not okay. I'm cool. But the real thing is, I'm not okay, and perhaps you're okay. Yeah, exactly. But I can't admit it to myself that I'm not okay. I'm not having it. So I'm going to say that you're not okay. And my response is, in anger or whatever the emotion is that I'm going to project it onto you, that's your stuff, dude. That's you. I'm good. We say that, right? I'm good.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't good, man.
Yeah.
I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
I was in a lot of pain, and when we pick up on that theme, the same theme in session 3, when we talk about the person who enters into therapy as a student, I'm good, man. I ain't got nothing to talk about. I'm only here because I need you to sign that paper.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, so here's the thing. Here's the next part. If you don't mind, ethically speaking, just signing it to say that we done it. When we ain't done it. So we would look at that and say, well, that's old behavior, isn't it?
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely old behavior. And I think, Carl Rogers, speaks about the conditions of worth, right?
Ooh. Yeah.
So where does our worth come from?
Yeah.
What has been placed on us, or what are we allowed to be placed on us? And I guess there comes a point where we have to ask ourselves, like I know we mentioned previously, like, who am I? Right? I think we have to. And that's a tough question.
It is a tough question.
It's the avoidance question sometimes. You can spend your whole life avoid, but there will come a moment where you have to have that conversation with yourself. Not with anyone else.
Yeah.
With yourself. And I think, I've seen, I think we're clear on saying that we know that there are concepts and there are things that contribute to our identity, us forming our identity. Yeah. Family, what we believe, maybe where we went to school. Some people might be what's in their bank account.
Yeah.
Faith, ethnicity, qualifications that they have, maybe the car they drive, got clothes that they've got, the hobbies or the clubs that they're assigned to, the team that they support. There are all these
big time.
These contributing factors. But when you strip away those layers, like who are you? Who are we? When I look in the mirror, who is staring back? And I think that's fundamental. And when I ask myself that question and the answer I answer back, what has formed that answer? Can I live with that? So I got friends and, people that I met along the way, and they'll be like, I'm A. And I think the minute sometimes people can get lost in their titles, right? I'm A, and then they carry that wherever they go. That's just maybe something that you do.
Yeah.
But that's not, like, at the core, that's not you. You might tap into a skill and a trait that you have. So the guy who's broke, he says he's broke, right? Like, he feels broke and then walks around with that. So I remember there was quite, there was a number of us, growing up, we didn't have money, and, we said, we're broke. So that was like the driver to do anything to fix the situation, right? And by fix, the situation, you can use your imagination. But like, we just didn't have money at that time. We weren't broke. Like, and I think there are times when I have to be really careful of the drivers, as you mentioned, how I see myself. Like, where does this come from?
Yeah.
Where does this come from? Do I believe it?
Yeah.
I think that's fundamental.
So, picking up on that, Claude, is who am I? And I think I look at it. I like the schema therapy. Yeah, schema therapy. When it talks about self, others, and in the world, how you see yourself, others, in the world. Schema. And at its root is that core belief.
Yeah.
The core belief that that we're talking about in relation to identity. Who am I? Who Who do I say I am? Who do others say I am? How did I come to form that?
Yeah.
And oftentimes it is we like this word within our therapy world of introjection, and I like it primarily because the definition that is given is, what have you swallowed whole? That for me is powerful. That introjection is about, what were the messages that you heard? What were the messages that you received? What were the messages that you ingested? And as a 6-year-old boy, I will tell you that the 26-year-old, the 36-year-old, the 46-year-old, the 56-year-old, the 66-year-old will still have some of those same messages that they've ingested, introjected, still plays on their mind today.
Yeah.
That is the agency of identity, is what you have introjected.
Yeah.
And swallowed whole.
Yeah.
Because when you think about your core beliefs, oftentimes they will say, with your core beliefs, can you change your core belief? There's it depends on who you listen to, which theorists you look at, blah, 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 blah. I think that core beliefs fundamentally can be modified. To change them, to change them, that's a harder task, because what we're talking about here is resistance, as we talked about. One word we didn't talk about is reluctance, because you have the resistance, you have the reluctance, and then you have the defense mechanism that you utilize. So if my defense mechanism is that I'm intellectually sound, so I'm going to blind you with science.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna come from here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come from here. You know cats, they got a big brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Smart individuals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they don't come from here.
I don't want you to see me.
Yeah.
I'll keep you at bay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm gonna blind you with science, and that way, I'll hit you with a thought rather than. So how you feeling? Well, I think that
everything's up here.
Yeah. Well, I thought that. Well, hold on now. I asked you how you feel. What's going on in here?
Yeah.
Still now I'm waiting for an answer.
Disconnect, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that, we think about the core belief, and then here's the kicker. Conditional belief comes into the fore, because the conditional belief is predicated on the rules and assumptions I have for living. So there's myself, there's others, and there's the world. So if or the future. So if my thinking is, the future, or the world it's a scary place. In order to, you talk about, being broke. If you're being broke, and I have to use my imagination to know, well, oh boy, they had to go out and do certain things in order to get paid. Yeah. That's my rule and assumption for living.
Yeah.
I got to go get mine, because ain't nobody giving it to me.
Yeah.
Who, you going to give me? Nah. And then I have the message. So all of this is connected, right? So I have the message in the house that's going on.
Yes.
That I've ingested. I have the messages that are going on in the hood among my fellow peoples who I feel got my back.
Yeah. So I belong.
Yes, I belong.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I belong to them. I've ingested that.
Yeah.
I've ingested with the teacher perhaps who's told me I ain't never going to amount to nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. Or perhaps the teacher who has affirmed and given me, some tools to say that, listen, Claude, you have it. Carl, you have it. You need to play on that. But then the thing is, I don't believe it because I don't see it anywhere else.
So it's in conflict. Does it even, it's just like water, like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. It's powerful. The reluctance, the resistance. Like, I personally believe, like Because I've seen it. Like, you know, there are people's lives who have been transformed.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's through a God experience.
Yes.
Or a life experience. Where their belief system, how they did life, how they viewed others and viewed their self has drastically changed.
Yes.
One might argue, were those core beliefs always already there and just covered up? Were they hidden? Were they? You know, we spoke about the unknown in jar. Were they unknown? But I believe I have seen core beliefs change. Listeners, what I would say, if you had an opportunity to set up a new Instagram page or a new profile page for the app that you use, what would you write?
That's a great question.
What would you write? And if you do get the chance, just give it a try.
That's a great question.
And let's see what you stare back at. And then let's look. Maybe you could look at, where does that come from? Because usually people's profiles are connected to how they see themselves sometimes, right? Or what they're trying to put out to the world.
Yeah.
And you usually have a small little box. So what would you communicate if you had to write a brand new profile for your favorite app?
That's a powerful image. Yeah. Powerful image. Wow. Some wonderful themes are coming up, Claude. And I just think that when I think about, identity, in the, was doing a workshop on this, who am I? That's the title.
Yeah.
That's the title of the workshop. Who am I? And working with men within the penal institution, we say, when you ask that question, oftentimes stymied by the question because no one's really asked them that before. Who am I? And so we'll use something that is something that's easy to grasp. A concept that's easy to grasp. So you imagine a car, and we say, who you're in the car, or say you're outside of the car, whichever the case is, you're in the car. Who's riding with you? Yeah. Who's in the front seat? Say you're driving. Who's in the front seat with you? Or who's driving? You're in the passenger seat. Who's in the back seat? Who would you put in the trunk? Yeah, that's a question. Who would you put? Because that is so revealing of who would you put in the trunk?
Yeah.
Or the boot, as you say.
Yeah.
And some of the it's a great conversation starter.
Yeah.
And because it also brings up the banter, some jokes in there, but then also what often happens is the unmet need, the those unmet expectations, the pain, sometimes the traumatic events. Those that lived experience starts to emerge. And I've always have the evidence to say that as a result of having that conversation through something as simple as that, is that they come to answer and ask certain questions that they haven't really thought about before in their life.
Yeah. So
who am I? Who am I? And a lot of times it stems from, I balk sometimes at the theorist or the counselor or the lay person who may say that the early experience is hokum or it's not really validity to. I really, my experience has always shown me that your early experience is what shapes you.
Yeah.
I can remember those things that transpired at the age of 6 that stayed, even though, I know that I've compartmentalize, put them in their rightful places.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that I can't, I don't get that tinge or that twinge of, that remembrance of how it felt back then. Back then.
And every king as a kid, right?
Yeah.
And every queen, we carry our inner child with us.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about the unmet needs. What did your inner child not get?
Yeah.
And how does that play out today? And I think there's something around just from my own like personal work on self and what working with others. If your identity is based on something that can be taken from you. That can be really unhealthy. So whether that's the sportsman,
who
has, built his career, his life, his livelihood on this one sport.
Yeah.
And it's not unnormal for people after sport or music or acting or whatever that one thing is. It might be behind the scenes, whatever it is. Once that has stopped, for there to be like breakdowns, for there to be almost like behavior that now seems some would deem as odd, or mental health challenges, or their whole life was built around.
Come on, man.
I've got mates who don't want to talk when we meet. We don't really talk about sports too much because they want to just be normal.
Right. Yeah.
They are normal, but for them, like it's just like no, let's. Yeah, that's work.
Yeah.
And
what comes to mind? Don't know if you heard of him. You heard of Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker?
Yeah, boxer. Yeah. Oh, come on.
In the 80s, my man was...
Come on.
Listen, you couldn't touch him.
Yeah. Swift.
You think, Mayweather, the Philly
shoulder
shell.
roll. Yeah.
Listen,
go shoulder roll.
This guy, you couldn't... I mean, he'd be so low. It was like, I don't know where he was going, man. He was that good. But when you think... when he came to my mind because after the Idealisation, after, the boxing career ended, he was, he could be the poster child for, what you don't do. Because, it's just last year or maybe 18 months ago, he passed away through substance misuse. So it was those demons that played with him throughout his professional career, but it stemmed from that early experience. And it's because, I had some awareness because he was, came up in, around my era, like not far from where my grandmoms lived. And I used to visit, her quite often. People always talking about Sweet Pea Whitaker and, he was that guy, and then it's just, because I love sports so much. It is very much, there are those individuals who've reached the pinnacle, and then when it comes to an end, so much within the boxing fraternity, I would say, is that it's hard to deal with, because you champ everywhere, champ, even when you perhaps have lost the belt, you're still called champ. I worked with an individual who was a journeyman boxer and, had 60 plus fights. Wow. 60 plus fights.
That's a lot of fights.
And, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this, but his thing was he was fighting to forget. I was like, man, that's a book title.
That's a pause moment. Man.
Yeah.
Fighting to forget.
Yes. He could be on the stool, ready to go do battle, and he would say his mind is somewhere else. He's just thinking about something else because of what he's ingested, what he has swallowed whole.
It's powerful. So I think we have to ask ourselves and the listeners, is there anything that we're fighting to forget?
Whoa.
This is an inclusive space, right? That was really powerful.
Yeah.
So he's on the stool in the middle of a fight. He's had 60 fights.
Yeah.
So his body's there.
Yes.
He's doing all the actions. But there's something else that he's trying to forget. Which highlights the importance of therapy.
Very much so.
That's profound.
Yeah.
That's extremely profound. As you speaking, I thought of, Frank Bruno.
Yeah. Yeah.
That importance of I'm not what I do. Yeah, it's so hard because if your whole life is built around something.
Yes, and that's what others have told you.
Yeah.
So then you come to believe what others have told you, because again, I've swallowed it whole.
Yeah.
And then when the lights go out, and as I said, the adulation ends, and perhaps even though they call you champ, you're not the champ anymore.
You don't even feel like a champ.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever been called something that you don't even feel like?
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
And I guess that, for me, it feels like there's been a running theme of the outside, running theme in this session, the outside world, or the outside influencers or the schemers. What are they telling you? What are they making you believe about yourself? Or do you choose to believe them about yourself?
Yeah.
But I think there comes a point where that choice you have to make. We have to make. I have to make.
I don't know if I go in circles with this, but I think, with the choice, is it, okay, so in addiction, 12 steps, we talk about, that first step, the powerlessness and the unmanageability, coming to accept that I am, and that's the misnomer within that, because oftentimes when you're trying to psychoeducate guys around this powerlessness aspect or concept, I ain't powerless. Who are you talking to?
No one wants to be powerless.
Yeah. But the thing is, I say, well, anytime you think about it, or you pick up that narcotic, do you have the power to? And I would always give them that scenario of, the cat who gets an 8-ball or gets an eighth, whatever he gets, and he breaks off a little something and he says, I'm going to put it in my drawer, and that's going to hold me the week. I've been in groups. If not hundreds or thousands of guys that I've had the opportunity to work with over the years, and nobody, groups of 12 men, nobody in that group has been able to really tell me that they've been able to put that in the drawer and leave it for a week. It's been gone by the end of the night. Because they've gone back and chipped at it till it's gone. And so they hit road to go and get another one. So the powerlessness aspect of it is that whenever you pick it up, it has that connotation of the unmanageability of your life being such that, when's the last time you had a full-time gig? When's the last time that you've been able to give your kids something, break them off a little something? When's the last time you've been able to pay the rent? Have you sustained anything of that nature in your life? And I'm talking about those cats who are fully immersed in it, because you do have those individuals who, who are recreational users, but the ones who've come and sat before me. It is very much about, I don't have any evidence to support the fact that I am not powerless or unmanageable when it comes to that particular narcotic.
Yeah. The acceptance, right? Like what will we accept?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think as we come to that kind of like natural ending,
Yeah.
I guess just a question, you know, who would you say you are when you're by yourself? Maybe write it down. You know, write down what comes to your mind. That exercise that Carl spoke about, maybe even try that. I'm going to do that myself. Who would I put in the back? I'm very intrigued. Is there anyone who's going to be in the trunk, and why are they in the trunk? Am I carrying them? Because if they're in the trunk, they're on a journey with you, right?
Yeah.
Everyone in that car is going somewhere with you. But yeah, powerful.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you to the listeners. I hope you've been able to take something away from this this session today. You know, and if you when you think about it, because you know certain elements are for you, and then perhaps there's certain elements that weren't for you. But whatever it is, hopefully you've been able to take something, some nugget, some seed away to ponder. And we wish you well until session 5.
Come on. Thanks for joining.